Our first video is going to be looking at an introduction to functions. Now, if you notice, I said part 2. We actually have already laid all of the groundwork for functions, so this is really not our first exposure. Looking at the picture, you can kind of get an idea of what a function is. But first, let's define it. A function is a relation where every input has an output. And notice it says an output. That means there's one unique answer for every number you put in. Throughout this video, there are times where you're going to want to pause and write things down. This would be one of those opportunities. When we're looking at a function in 7th grade, we're going to look at it in 3 different forms. We've already looked at expressions and evaluating expressions, where we plug in a number and see what value we get out. That's why it has a yellow check. We've also looked at function tables where we have an input and an output. And we've already looked a little bit at graphing, but we haven't actually graphed a function table. So that's what we're going to look at in today's lesson. While we go through problems, feel free to pause, stop, rewind. That's what you need to do for yourself throughout the lesson. Our focus Monday and Tuesday is going to be something you will do in Algebra 1. It's called a rule of 4. Basically, we look at a scenario, we write an expression, we've already done that. We use a function table, we've already done that. We're going to graph the line, and I say line, and notice it says linear. The graphs we're going to see at first are going to be linear. They will get different as it goes on. And then on tonight's video, you're going to actually take a look at rate of change, which is the analysis part. So here's our first example. Alex decides to save $2 a week. The first thing we're going to do is what we worked on last week, which is we're going to write a variable expression for this. So take a second, see if you can write an expression, and in about 5 seconds, I'm going to show you what I decided to do. When looking at the problem, what I noticed is that it said $2 a week. And so the first thing I thought is $2 a week is $2 per week, which means to multiply. So I knew in this problem we really only had one operation. All we were worried about was multiplying by 2. Now I chose the expression 2w, where w means weeks, but you can choose any variable you choose. The next step in a rule of 4 is we need to take a look at a table. Now throughout my videos you may see these kind of like cartoon chat bubbles, and why they're there is they're there to give you hints, tips, and suggestions. Sometimes in a function table they don't tell you the input. And just like the bubble says, if you have to choose, keep it simple. Choose small numbers that are easy to graph. Do not choose large ones. So if you notice in the table I also said that what the input means. These numbers here aren't just numbers, they represent weeks because the variable w means weeks. So what I do is what we've already done. We're going to plug in the values and we're going to see what we get as our output. Take a second, pause the video, and see if you can fill out the table. After plugging in the values, you should notice you see a pattern, which is pretty straightforward. This was an easy example to start with. And so now the output means the total money saved. So if he saves $2 a week, after 1 week he saved $2. After 2 weeks he saved 4. After 3 he saved 6, and the pattern continues. Now for what's a little bit new. We are going to take a look at an actual function on a graph. In this function we're going to use the input to represent our x-axis and our output to be the y. So my first ordered pair is 1, 2. So on the graph we start at the origin, and notice I only have the first quadrant, which is all positive numbers. For the rules of 4, this is where we're going to stay for right now. So the input is 1, the output is 2. When the input is 2, the output is 4. When the input is 3, the output is 6. Like I mentioned earlier, all of our graphs should make a straight line. If for some reason you notice your graph is not a straight line, one of 2 things have happened. First, you may have made a mistake in the function table, or you may have plotted a point incorrectly. So use that as your check. So these are the first 3 steps of a rule of 4. not that bad. What I would like you to do is take a look at this next example. A lot of times I will mark something with your turn. When it says your turn, I want you to try it first without me telling you the answer. In about 10 seconds, I'm going to show you the answer. So what I'd like you to do is pause the video at this point and try the problem. Looking at this particular example, I've noticed some key facts, and what I do when I solve problems, even though I'm a math teacher, I still do it. I look for keywords and phrases. This problem says that Bree spends $2 a day, so that money is coming out of her allowance. So I wrote the expression 10 minus 2d. You could have also written the expression negative 2d plus 10, but because we haven't discussed negative numbers yet, I did not include that one. I stuck with this. If this is our function rule, this would be our function table. After 1 day of spending that money, now she only has $8 left, and so on and so forth. So we're going to go ahead and plot. Remember, input is x, output is y. So I'm going to move over 1, and I'm going to count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to do the same thing for 2, 2, 4, 6, and the same thing for 3, 2, 4. Like before, you want to make sure that it is a line or linear. So that's all that you need to know about how to graph a function table.